mainly just focus on school? I mean, because you mentioned, Nico mentioned something about social. Are we just, that social is just something totally different?
We'll prompt you with like a social.
Okay, okay.
We're talking about like the scholastic.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So now tell us about your transition from high school to college.
Okay. My transition from high school to college life was not very difficult. The reason why is because when I was in 11th grade at high school, 11th and 12th grade, I was in what is called the DECA program. I don't know if you guys are familiar with DECA, but DECA was a program where you could work and you could also go to school. So the transition was fairly simple for me because at that time I started working when I was actually 14 years old. So I was, familiar and accustomed to working and going to school, and I think the DECA program just kind of reinforced, that whole concept because I was still able to maintain my job, go to school, maintain my grades. And so I think whenever I transitioned into college, in the beginning it was, I was able to handle everything and I felt fine, but I think eventually after I moved out of my parents' house and I think I become a real adult and took on the responsibilities of having to pay my own way for my apartment and for my food and my car insurance, I think it became a little too much. And so my classes in school really did kind of suffer and it took a blow. And at that time I was taking 15 hours, which is considered a full load. And most of my classes, like I said, were suffering. And I realized after my first semester in my 2-year school that I could not take a full load and work a full-time job at the same time. So after that semester, I only took part-time classes because I was, working full-time at my place of employment. Okay.
So what did these jobs consist of while you were in college?
When I first started, when I was 14, I was working as a bag girl at a local grocery store. And then I moved from bag girl to cashier, and there happened to be an opening in the pharmacy at the supermarket that I was working for, and so the pharmacist asked me if I was interested in pursuing that option, and I said yes, of course I was. So I worked as a pharmacy technician for 6 years.
Wow. So did that help pay your way through college?
It did really pay my way through college because what I did was when I first started school, I had such great grades. Right. In high school, I was able to qualify for the HOPE, but because of the situation, with the full-time job and taking on the responsibility of being a real adult, I lost hope, and so therefore I was forced to take out loans because my parents did not financially help me in any way. If I was struggling maybe with, my bills, then they would step in, but for the most part, the loans, Stafford loans, covered everything school related. So
now that all said and done, you have, your college degree, you have another college degree. What are your majors? Like, what are your degrees in?
Okay. My associate's degree was in business administration, and the reason why is because at that time I was very interested in starting my own clothing consignment store, but then I realized that you have to have money to do that, and unfortunately I didn't have that. And so during the process of pursuing my, after I actually graduated my associate's degree, I was still taking classes because I knew I was eventually going to go to a 4-year school. I happened to take a sociology and anthropology class, and it really stuck with me because I've always been really interested in cultures. So after I decided that I was going to move to Atlanta. I got accepted into Kennesaw State, and I wanted to really pursue my anthropology degree, but unfortunately Kennesaw didn't offer that program. The next best thing was sociology, so I got my sociology degree. During that time, I was working various jobs. When I was in Atlanta, first moved to Atlanta, I was still a pharmacy technician, but because of the situation at that particular location, my supervisor would not allow me to take day classes, because at that point I had already, I had no other options to taking night classes, so I was forced to take day classes, and he would not give me any leeway on my schedule, so I actually quit, and I pursued another job. and that took me a totally different route because I transitioned from being a pharmacy technician to a vet technician.
Oh,
So I did that for 3 years so I could finish up my bachelor's degree. And there was some time in there, then you're thinking it took you 3 years, 5 years to get a bachelor's. And it didn't actually take me that long because I graduated and I'm still pursuing classes because I think the one reason why I was still taking classes is because I knew I wanted to do something else with my sociology degree. I just didn't know what capacity. So I was still taking classes, and during that time I actually was offered a job utilizing the degree that I obtained, and it was working for DFACS. So I went to go work for DFACS for about a year, and then I decided that I actually wanted to enter into grad school. So I pursued that option, but the only problem was that I knew that there was no way that I could do grad school and DFACS because DFACS is very involved. I mean, like, if you have a problem, you have to go and you have to take care of that situation. And I knew that because of grad school was so, sorry, I get distracted really easy. Because grad school is so rigid and you have to be there because you can't miss a class. If you do, you're screwed. I mean, so I decided to leave DFACS so I could pursue grad school. And in that time, I went back to work at the vet's office because I knew that my supervisor there was really flexible and that she would work with my schedule. So I did that, and up until the point where I was getting a little frustrated with the vet job, so I decided to go back to DFACS. And I worked for DFACS up until right before I graduated. I think I was with DFACS probably, I think, what was it, 6 months before I graduated with my master's degree, and I just decided that I had enough of DFACS, and I pursued an opportunity that was at Kennesaw State University, and I got that job, and I've been there ever since.
and can you explain to us your job at Kennesaw State University?
Sure. My job is I am the administrative specialist for Volunteer Kennesaw State University, and what Volunteer Kennesaw State University does is we provide different on-campus and off-campus volunteer opportunities for students. At my school, the international students are required to volunteer 20 hours of service in order to receive a reduction in their tuition. So I'm kind of like the liaison between the nonprofits and the students. So I arrange everything for them, and I send the documentation to the Office of International Services. And we also, like I said, plan different activities on campus for the students just to encourage them and make them more aware of nonprofit agencies in their community. And not just nonprofit, but also government agencies that provide services to people that are, that are in certain situations that would require them to utilize those services.
So you feel like after all the struggle, you're able to better the community?
Yes.
Now.
Yes. I've been at Kennesaw now for, I would say, about a year and a half, and in between that time, we advocate for the March of Dimes, so I'm responsible for fundraising activities on campus. We also work with Pop Christmas Stuff a Bus, and so what that involves is we actually go around to the different student organizations in different classes, and we tell them a little bit about Pop Christmas, and we ask them to make a donation, and we would actually take, the food items and stuff a bus. So, and we also sponsor the Red Cross blood drives.
Exactly. Well, that's awesome.
So what would you advise students now? Because it seems like you had a lot of patience from the time you started college from getting a degree. Struggles, different jobs, hanging in there.
I think my advice to students, if I was pursuing a degree, if I had, say, a younger brother or sister that was, that was wanting some advice from me, I would say number one, don't take on more than you can handle. Seriously, if it takes you 3 years to get a degree, or if it takes you 7 years to get a degree, what's important is that you can't take on more than you can handle, because when you do, eventually something in your life is going to suffer, or you're going to have to start making a lot of sacrifices. And I mean, going to school, you are going to have to make sacrifices, but it doesn't mean that you have to completely stop living life in some capacity just to get a piece of paper. The people around you shouldn't have to suffer, and you obviously have to pay your bills. So, just take your time. Only take on as much as you can handle, and be wise. Just make wise decisions. And it's always important to surround yourself with people that can help you make, good decisions.